Guys, not long is left in this transfer window and the rumour mill is continuing to heat up. We're back with another episode of the Championship Transfer Rumour Roundup today. And as always, I want to get your guys' thoughts on everything going on in the rumour mill in the comments down below. Also, do share with me any thoughts you've got going into the Carabao Cup games, which are coming up in midweek as well. But as always, 250 likes would be massively appreciated. Do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Without any further ado though, let's hop into some done deals. And we'll start out with Ryan Woods, who completed his move over to Hull City. Forgot to mention this one in the last video, but quite like this one, to be honest. Gives Hull a little bit more depth into their midfield department, and as we've already seen some injuries cropping up in that area, he's going to get plenty of game time over these next few months. Came off the bench in that game against West Brom at the weekend as well. From Birmingham's perspective, probably made sense for him to go ahead and move on. A little bit inconsistent during his whole time at Birmingham, but I still think there's a player in there that Hull will get the best out of. And we saw Burnley completing a deal for Darko Chernoff. He's coming over from Stuttgart. Burnley adding another wide man into the equation for Vincent Kompany. We saw him get a little bit of game time off the bench at the weekend against Blackpool as well. Came on as a second half substitute in that one. From North Macedonia, only 22 years old, fits along with the general recruitment pattern that we've seen of Burnley so far and the type of profile of player that we've seen them go after. And Middlesbrough have completed a deal for Fulham's Rodrigo Muniz. He's coming over on a season-long loan. Last season in the Championship, only got to see a brief bit of him, but in that time he made quite the impression. Scored 5 goals in just 490 minutes of Championship football, meaning he averaged a goal every 98 minutes in the Championship last season, which is seriously impressive. I think we all knew for quite some time that this one was on the cards, but yeah, that's one striker in through the door at Middlesbrough. And we saw Rotherham getting a deal over the line for Brooke Norton-Cruffy. He's coming over on a season-long loan deal from Arsenal. Plenty of other Championship clubs reportedly interested in the wing back, but it is Rotherham who have won the race for him, and a really promising bit of business, I must say. I looked into him quite a bit because at one point in the window my side, North End, were linked with a move for him. Spent last season out on loan at Lincoln. Looks to be a really good outlet going forward, and this obviously being the next stage of his development. Yeah, I think Rotherham have got a really good pickup there for a season on loan. We've seen Courtney House join Watford on a season-long loan deal from Aston Villa. This one had been on the cards for quite some time as well, this one being long rumoured. Watford in need of more depth in the centre-half department, particularly as we expect them to go back to a system where it is playing through at the back. Obviously, we've seen them deviate from that recently, but with more players in through the door, we expect there to be a little bit more structure in at Watford come the end of the window, but there's still quite a few moving plates in terms of then getting all those deals over the line. But yeah, a solid addition in for a season here. But guys, those are some of the deals we've seen go through in the Championship over the past few days. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into the rumours. And with the transfer rumours, there's really only one place to start, and that's with Ismala Sarr and his move to Aston Villa collapsing in the final hour. Reportedly so, everything had been agreed between Watford and Aston Villa. Watford happy to sell the player at the time. It seemed as if Sarr was happy to make the move as well, and the deal was agreed of around about £25 million, with a further £3 million coming in add-on instalments. Now, we have had some conflicting reports coming out in terms of why this deal did actually collapse in the final hour. We've seen some reports saying that there was a last-minute change of heart from Gerrard and him wanting to pursue some other targets, but some more perhaps credible sources suggesting that it was actually on Sarr's side that this deal ended up falling through, which is really quite interesting. It was Fabrizio Romano who suggested that the collapse was down to the player side and not the club side in terms of Aston Villa actually going ahead and pulling out of this one, which does leave Sarr's future up in the air as things stand. Perhaps we'll see Crystal Palace pursuing that move for him like we spoke about on the last video, but Sarr wasn't involved whatsoever in Watford's matchday squad against Preston at the weekend, and so his future is still yet to be resolved. I would expect in one way or another Sarr to leave Watford in this window, but Aston Villa now seems to be off the table. If I had to have money on it, I'd probably be edging towards Crystal Palace at this point, but when a deal like that can collapse at the last minute, it's up for anyone's guess, really. And as Aston Villa are now pursuing another forward option, it would seem as if Cameron Archer could become available for a loan deal this season. Now, earlier on in the window, Steven Gerrard made the decision to go ahead and keep Cameron Archer in and around the squad, but as his playing opportunities have been quite limited up until this point, he's been on the bench for each of their Premier League matches so far, it would make more sense to go ahead and loan him out to the Championship, where he would be getting that consistent game time, particularly if Aston Villa are going to be pursuing other targets in those forward positions. Archer, I think, is close to a guarantee of goals in the Championship as you're going to get. Last season, second half of the season with Preston, scored 7 goals, but his all-round play, he plays with a real maturity beyond his years, and he is one of the most natural finishers I've ever seen at North End, and I think he'll be an absolute hit wherever he does end up. It was being speculated that a move to Watford could have gone through for Cameron Archer on a loan deal. Potentially so, that could have been a little bit of a sweetener as part of the Sarr deal, but with that collapsing, the future is very much up in the air for Archer now. Obviously, Villa and Watford have already done business in this window with the Keenan Davis deal as well. There are plenty of other Championship clubs who would be interested in a move for Archer should he become available. QPR being one of those, with Michael Beale's relationship with Steven Gerrard. Preston, North End, God, we're in need of a striker at this point in time, and obviously with that past relationship and Preston claiming that we'd match any offer of any Championship club going in for him, we'd also be in the race for him as well as several others. So time will tell on Archer, but it does seem more than likely that a loan move would be sanctioned, and whoever does get him, my God, you're getting a hell of a player. And Blackburn Rovers have quite the tricky situation with Brereton-Diaz at this stage. We all anticipated that it could have got to this point, but reportedly so, he's not interested in signing a new contract extension with Blackburn or sitting down and having that discussion. Reportedly, it was tabled for him quite a while ago, but he's not interested in that, and he is looking for that route out of the club. Now, Blackburn do find themselves in a particularly tricky situation, especially because this story about him wanting to leave has come out. It does somewhat weaken their hand in terms of what they can go ahead and demand for him, but at the end of the day, he's only got 12 months left in his contract, and so Blackburn were always going to be forced into a little bit of a corner with what to do with him in this summer. Do they cash in on him while he's hot right now, or do they ride it out throughout the season and ultimately lose him on a free in the next summer transfer window? We've previously had Premier League interest from the likes of West Ham, Leeds and Everton. We also had a bid submitted from Nice in France as well for around about 10 million. I think that might have been in euros as well, and they were only willing to pay that in sort of instalments, so Blackburn went ahead and rejected that. Blackburn fans, what do you realistically hope to get for Brereton-Diaz if you were to sell him in this window, considering he's only got 12 months left in his contract and he is potentially angling for that move away from the club? Two things which will obviously go ahead and lessen that value. Listen, until these recent couple of matches, he started the season off really well with Blackburn, as they had done as well, but I get it from the player's perspective. He wants that next big move in his career after how well last season went for him. He's now an established international as well, which is going to add on to that price tag, but he's still ultimately a Blackburn Rovers player, and it's up to their discretion in terms of what happens with him this season. And as another blow to Blackburn Rovers, Jan-Paul van Heck could be on the move this summer, but not back to Blackburn. It seems like a move to Sunderland could be on the cards for the Brighton defender on loan this summer. Now, he is expected to sign a new contract extension with Brighton and then head out on loan back to the Championship, but not to Rovers, and I'm sure that they would have been more than interested in getting him back for another season, given how well he actually did there last season. Sunderland, I think, have really gone under the radar, in terms of how they've done their business throughout this transfer window, picking up nice little deals here and there. I think this would absolutely be another one of those, would really go a long way in continuing to improve that already steady defence. Only 22 years old. I think after how well he did at Blackburn last season, a few of us thought that he might have even got that opportunity in the Premier League this time around, but with the options that Brighton already have in that position, seems like a loan move could be sanctioned, and if Sunderland do get this one over the line, I think it's a terrific move for the season. And from Blackburn's perspective, they certainly need another centre-half in through the door, but it seems as if they're putting their eggs into the Seth Vandenberg basket. Obviously, previously they were heavily linked with a move for Ben Davis, this. That one didn't transpire, and it now seems as if Seth Vandenberg is very much on the agenda. It's a little bit of a difficult one because of Liverpool's current defensive options and the injuries they actually have in that position. Seth Vandenberg has therefore been on the bench for each of Liverpool's Premier League matches so far this season, but should that go ahead and work itself out towards the end of the window, it's more than likely that another loan move would be sanctioned for Seth Vandenberg. Listen, as a North End fan, I'd be absolutely gutted to see him back in the Championship, out on loan at another club that's not Preston North End. I think he's earned that opportunity, probably at a higher level, you know, whether that be a Premier League club or a move abroad somewhere like the Bundesliga for the season. But Blackburn are keen to go ahead and get this deal done, and if they've stuck with it for this long, there's got to be something in it, and they've got to be confident of getting the deal over the line at some point. And we've seen Newcastle come to an agreement with Joao Pedro and Watford, a fee of around about £30 million plus add-ons for this one. We saw Watford standing strong with Newcastle's first bid that went in for Joao Pedro around about that 20 million mark, and it seems as if they have got that desired fee for him. Honestly, a little bit disappointed by the fact that I was really looking forward to seeing him over a full season in the Championship this time around, but I think that in terms of a Premier League club that he could have gone to, I think that Newcastle is an absolutely brilliant fit for him. The trajectory of that club at the moment, how well they're going under Eddie Howe and how he'll actually fit into that team, you know, him and St Maximin in the same team, I think will be all sorts of fun for Newcastle fans in years to come, and Watford have gone and got that fee that they wanted for him. So yeah, somewhat a shame to see him leave the Championship this time around, but I think he'll be absolutely fantastic for Newcastle in years to come. And it seems as if we could have more movement in the Josh Bowler market over these next couple of weeks as well, with both Nottingham Forest and Fulham in for the Blackpool winger. We've also seen some Championship interest in Bowler as well, but with those Premier League clubs sniffing around, it would seem more than likely that a move to the Premier League could be on the cards for him. Blackpool in a similar situation with Bowler that Blackburn are in with Brereton-Diaz, where the player only has 12 months left in his contract, so they need to go ahead and make that judgment on him in terms of whether to cash in or not. It is a difficult situation they're in at the moment. I think in their matches so far this season, the vast majority of them, and the glimpses I've caught of Blackpool, Bowler really has been that shining light for them. Offers that outlet, brilliant dribbler, 1v1, can take you on and get a goal as well. Both Forest and Fulham in for him. Be interested to see how much wiggle room Blackpool have in terms of clubs negotiating that fee with them. And it looks as if West Brom could be in the market for Sheffield United forward Ollie McBurney. This one could prove to be a little problematic from both points of view. Really be interested to get some Sheffield United fans' perspectives on Ollie McBurney at this stage. Obviously, in front of goal since arriving at Bramall Lane, it's just not worked out whatsoever for McBurney. Last season played over 1,000 minutes of Championship football, didn't hit the back of the net once. Despite that, there have been some signs that things are starting. You know, Sheffield United are starting to get a tune out of him. That performance at the weekend, he was pretty unlucky not to get on the score sheet against Blackburn. Had a good game, all things considered. And Sheffield United aren't exactly flushed with forward options at the moment, with a couple of absentees that they've got in that position. It's understandable why West Brom are in the market for another striker. We spoke about this last time with Daryl DK, currently sidelined for a lengthy period of time. Lewis Grabban is another alternative that West Brom are looking into at the moment, but a move for McBurney would be interesting. I'm not really sure where to stand on it from a Sheffield United perspective at the moment, given his goal scoring record since he's been there. And it seems as if Middlesbrough have agreed a deal for Brighton centre-half Matt Clark. They are obviously after a left-sided centre-half throughout the whole of this transfer window. Greaves was one option, but with him signing that contract extension with Hull, that was then put off the table. I think that this one is a really good bit of business actually, for just a reported 2.25 million as well. I think that's really good business by Middlesbrough. We've seen Matt Clark have some fantastic loan spells out to the Championship over these last few years. You know, out to West Brom did really well, same at Derby as well. And the fact they're getting him on a permanent basis, yeah, I think he's really good business here from Borough. And we'll finish off with Sander Berger, who is being linked with a move to Liverpool at this point in time. We saw how light that Liverpool midfield actually looked going up against Manchester United with the injuries that have accumulated in that position. Perhaps Liverpool will be dipping back into the transfer market, and a midfielder is certainly in demand at the moment. Sander Berger will be an interesting one. Obviously, from a Championship fan's perspective, I would like to see him sticking around this season. I think that Sheffield United have now sort of perfected the role they want Sander Berger to play. They've got him in the right system, the right team now, and I mean, I hope that continues, because I think over a full season, if he stays fully fit, I mean, he could absolutely be the difference this year for Sheffield United. But if Liverpool do come in with a sizable offer, they will be tested on that. There we have it though, guys. That will now wrap it up for today's video. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like, and any other rumours that we didn't mention in today's video, make sure to get them in the comments down below. But for that, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.